Even a year after the pandemic began, things are constantly changing and developing. Our 9Health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is here with us to give us an update on new things about COVID in Colorado. Good morning, Dr. Kohli.
Hi there, Corey. Good morning.
Yeah, it is changing so much. Good morning. So we're all hearing about this 80% rule. First the state and now the city of Denver, where you can remove masks if 80% of people are vaccinated. What is your reaction to that?
Honestly, I have to say, I think it's a bit tricky, and I'm not sure I'm in favor of this rule. So the 80% appears to come from the herd immunity threshold, which we've talked about may actually not even be the correct target, because now we've got new, more contagious variants in the mix. So the 80% to me is just a little bit arbitrary. The second piece of this is 80% of what sized group. So if I have 200 people in one room, 80% of them, being vaccinated means 40 people in that group are not vaccinated, and that's a whole lot of people that could be spreading the infection to each other. The third piece of this, which we've talked about, is who enforces this 80% rule. In a restaurant, in a gathering, is it the job of the restaurant? Is it the job of other patrons? Who enforces it? And then for me as a consumer, I always think, if I walk into a restaurant and see a bunch of people sitting there, how do I know which 80% are vaccinated, which ones aren't, and how I should change my behavior? So I think it's a little bit tricky. I'm not sure I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, the enforcement seems so hard to figure out, and it's a lot of a burden on the workers, the restaurant workers and everything to figure that out. So that is tough. Let's also talk about this variant, because you mentioned it. We know that a new variant has been found. 5 people in Mesa County have this variant that's from India, but none of them have traveled recently. How does that happen?
So this is a definition of what's called a community spread, which means the variant got on a plane, came through a traveler from India, but it wasn't detected. So we don't know who that, index patient or patient 0 is that brought it over. And then that person spread it to somebody else, and now it's spreading freely in the community. So this tells us that there's probably more cases, because these people haven't traveled, than what we have detected in the community. And the variant is likely to be in our community in a widespread fashion.
Do you think with this variant now being here, this will slow down the progress that we've made?
I'm really concerned about that. So with the vaccinated people, we're hoping that the vaccines still work against this variant from India. We don't know, actually, but we're hoping that they have some, at least partial efficacy, like we've seen with the other variants. But with the unvaccinated people, which is greater than 50% of our state, you're seeing what's happening in India. It's spreading like wildfire. There's so much suffering there. Only 2% of people in India were vaccinated when this variant emerged. So I'm concerned, and that's why I really want to encourage people to go and get vaccinated as soon as possible if they're in that unvaccinated group.
So this weekend is Mother's Day, and of course it's not going to be great weather. A lot of people might be celebrating inside. So what is your advice for Mother's Day celebrations this year?
This year, Mother's Day is going to look different from it looked last year. I'm excited to say that vaccinated people can hug their moms, they can take her out to dinner, they can have get-togethers with other vaccinated people. So that is a huge advance, in my opinion, from just a year ago where it was all Zoom Mother's Days. But I have to say, if there are unvaccinated people in the mix, and that, in my opinion, also includes kids, you really want to have that guard up. You want to try to avoid going out, try to avoid gatherings, and really try to continue to be cautious, especially now that we have these more concerning variants circulating in our community.
All right, Dr. Kohli, really appreciate you weighing in with us.